Welcome to everyone for the Disruptive Voices of the Pacific podcast. I'm coming to you from Fiji at the moment, where I've been for the last 3 weeks, not only launching a new book, but also continuing the conversation around sex, dating and relationships. Last year, we distributed 23,000 of these books, and also this year, we've just been finishing off. It's just been wonderful to be able to travel from Lambasa to Savu to Rotuma to Taveuni to Levuka, Viti Levu, right across so many of the islands, to give these young people just a powerful resource. But I'm aware that one book is not going to change everything, and we've got to keep talking about sex, dating and relationships. We've got to keep helping to disciple our young people in this area. And so recently in Suva, while I was in Suva, we did another event called Let's Talk About It, continuing the conversations around sex, dating and relationships. It was a great night, packed out. Young people from many different churches came. And again, I just really honour the local leaders in Fiji, the youth that are really beginning to speak up. They're just my heroes. So I'm about to play to you 2 women who shared at that event about breaking free from sexual shame. Both of them have had, before they became Christians, before they knew Jesus, before they knew how much they were loved and valued, they had sexual pasts with many different men. My good friends Mele and Vani, who are no strangers to this podcast, and they're just wanting to continue to speak up on so many different issues. So listen to their stories and just the amazing power of Jesus to set them free from their sexual past, to bring healing, to bring hope, to bring value. And this is our hope and our prayer for just so many young people across Fiji, because probably the biggest area in our lives where we carry shame is in our sex life, our sexuality. And so much of it is because we have been silent. The church has been silent. Silence does not create holiness, it creates shame. So we're breaking the silence to bring healing and hope. So enjoy these 2 stories that were recorded on the night from Mele and Vani. God bless.
Thank you, Tish. Hello, everyone. So I had written out my story because when I look at people, I start going everywhere, and then I'm not within my time limit. So my name is Mele, and when I was asked to speak about being free from shame, I knew this wasn't just another topic. This is my story. When I was 9 years old, I was raped. At that age, I didn't have the words to process what had happened. I didn't know how to ask for help. So I buried it deep inside and carried the weight of it for years. And then when I was 11, my father passed away, being the only girl of 5 kids, that I was so close to my dad. So losing him, it left another deep wound. I felt abandoned, lonely, and like I had to figure life out on my own. Looking back now, I can see that I wasn't just grieving. I was searching to feel loved, searching to feel wanted. See what happens when I make eye contact? Searching to fill a void that only grew bigger over time. When I was 16, I moved to Belgium, where I lived until I was 21. Those years were some of the most influential years of my life. I followed friends into environments that celebrated sexual freedom. We visited sex expos and adult stores, and I became surrounded by the culture where everything was so normal, and accepted. At the time, I thought I was simply fitting in. But underneath it all, I was still that little girl carrying wounds she had never healed from. My choices weren't coming from freedom. They were coming from brokenness. For years, I believed that my past defined me. I carried guilt, regret, and shame, believing that because of what had happened to me and the choices I later made, that I could never truly be clean or whole. Looking back now, I don't see a bad girl. I see a hurting little girl who never healed. For years, I believed shame was my identity. But shame is a liar. It tells you that what happened to you becomes your identity. So it whispered to me, you're too damaged. You're too far gone. God could never use someone like you. But that isn't the voice of God. God's voice says, we are loved. We are forgiven. We are made new. I wanted someone to tell me that I had value. But no matter what I did, the emptiness remained because the wound underneath never healed. The turning point in my life wasn't when everything suddenly became easy. The turning point was when I finally surrendered everything to Jesus. One of the greatest gifts God gave me was the courage to stop hiding. When I finally brought my pain into the light, healing began. Healing didn't happen overnight. It happened one surrendered step at a time. Then came another defining moment. As I entered New Year's Eve into 2024, I made a personal decision to become celibate. Not because I was trying to earn God's approval. I already had his love. For the first time in my life, I understood my value. Celibacy wasn't about losing something. It was about gaining freedom. Freedom from needing validation. Freedom from repeating unhealthy patterns. Freedom to honor God with my body. Freedom to discover who I really am. Since making that decision, my entire life has shifted. I wasn't about following rules. It wasn't about trying to prove anything. It was about finally believing that I was worth waiting for. Little by little, he began healing parts of me that I thought would always stay broken. He taught me that I wasn't damaged goods. He taught me that purity isn't something you lose forever. He taught me that grace is bigger than my past. One thing I've learned is that trauma doesn't automatically disappear with time. If you don't heal from it, it often shows up in our decisions, our relationships, and the way we see ourselves. For years, shame became my identity, and I did believe that I was damaged goods. But the truth is, Jesus never asked me to clean myself before coming to him. Amen. He simply asked me to come. As I grew closer to Christ, he began changing me from the inside out. Not through guilt or condemnation, but through his love and grace. So if you're here today carrying shame, whether it's because of something that happened to you or because of the choices you've made, I want you to know this: your past does not define your future. Amen. Shame does not have the final word. Jesus does. Amen. There is healing, there is forgiveness, there is freedom. And if he could do it for me, he can certainly do it for you too. Amen. Naka.
My mother had 4 abortions before she had me. My father didn't want to have children with her. Just as she was about to abort me, God intervened. Now that's a kind of shame that I had to carry from childhood all the way to adulthood. Having that kind of upbringing where you were not wanted and in a very chaotic household. As a young girl, my escape was going to school and pretend that my life was normal. As I went through school, I noticed that even when I would communicate and meet with other children, I never felt like I belonged. And I always felt out of place, like I wasn't good enough. And that feeling of not feeling like I was good enough, it got me on this search of wanting to feel significant. When I was 13, my parents finally separated. So essentially I was alone, having no parents around, feeling unwanted, and wanting to feel like I mattered. So as a young girl at 14, what did I do? I went and I started drinking and smoking and having sex. I tried to find some sort of sense of significance somewhere. I wanted to be wanted. I wanted someone to love me. And what that did, it got me to the point where I was 15 and I was pregnant. That journey where I was looking to be wanted and significant, trying to fill a void that only God could fill. Then me giving away my body to men and boys who would just use me just for a few moments of their pleasure. And it never quite filled that void, no matter how much I did it. But it was in that season of life where I found Jesus. Because I was raised Hindu. I used to worship idols that never spoke and never showed up, but one day I met Jesus. And when I got to learn more about this love, that he loves me without strings attached, I couldn't understand it. And that journey as a teenager created so much shame. So by the time I was 21, and I still had that shame, feeling like I was somebody's damaged goods, that I was somebody's dirty rag. Felt like there was nothing good that could come out of me because I'd made my bed, I might as well lie in it. And that kind of shame was something that I know many women carry even to the grave. But I am thankful that I can tell you today that Jesus stepped into my situation and broke that chain. Having all the things that I did in my teenage years, then raising children on my own, the shame of feeling like someone's reject, somebody's leftovers, was something that I had to bring to the foot of the cross. And I brought that to Jesus. I had nothing left. All I had were my pain and my tears. But in that moment, I encountered a love that my body could have never paid for. It was a love that there was no strings attached. And in that moment, when I encountered Jesus face to face, there was this shame that was broken off of my life. And when I was 23, that's when I started walking with God and learning about this God that had called me even from my mother's womb when she wanted to abort me. That God knew me even before the doctor could abort me. I couldn't understand this, but faith is not mentally comprehending things. You have to just believe it, even when you cannot comprehend and understand it in your own understanding. And on that journey, I encountered the chain-breaking power of God that broke me free, not only of sexual shame, but the shame of not being wanted, the shame of rejection, the shame of feeling like you were used and abused and nobody wanted you, just tossed aside. I thought to myself, look how far you've come that you can sit here and you don't feel like somebody's leftovers. That you can sit here and receive love. You can sit here and receive somebody wanting to pour into you because God has healed you. So I want to tell you today, whatever you have done and whatever has been done to you, that there is no end to how far God can heal you. He can heal you deep to the depths of your soul. He can heal those places that you didn't even know needed healing, like I did when I realized my rejection started from the womb. So I hope this encourages you Whatever has happened in the past, leave it there and leave it at the foot of the cross, because God is going to do something amazing in your life when you just say yes.